So Ellie, I'm so happy to be here with you, and I'm so blessed to work with you and your work on mindful self-compassion. And I'm just wondering, what is mindful self-compassion?
Thanks, Laura. I love also that our work goes so nicely together, but I think that forgiveness work starts with self-compassion. And the definition that I use for mindful self-compassion comes from Kristen Neff, who's done a lot of research on that subject. And basically she says there's three elements, and in the way I think about it, the initial element that moves us into the process is mindfulness. That we are present to what we're experiencing and we're not resisting to what we're experiencing. And both of those are a really tall order. To be actually present to what is going on and then to not resist what is going on. Because lots of things happen that are not what we would choose. And so to begin the practice, we need to have a way to be present.
Yeah.
So meditation gets to be part of this. And then it moves into our common humanity. And that means that we accept the fact that being human has limitations and we come flawed as human beings, which is not necessarily pleasing to most of us. And that is a lot of why we resist what is, because we think we should be different, or it should be different, circumstances should be different than what they are. And so there's a lot of work that goes into how do I accept the fact that I'm human, that I'm limited, and that I'm flawed. And once I get past that, then I might become willing to practice self-kindness, and that's the third element of self-compassion.
So what are they, the three elements?
So mindfulness, which is being present and accepting what is, finding a way to embrace my common humanity, and then have a self-kindness practice. And when I do those things, then I'm ready to move into some self-forgiveness. And I've heard you say all forgiveness is self-forgiveness, so I'm interested to hear more about that.
Yeah, that really is one of my favorite forgiveness slogans. All forgiveness is self-forgiveness. And that really takes into account that my belief that we are all one, that we're really ultimately one mind. And so if we see a flaw out there, that there is something for that in us as well, and for us to look at. Perhaps if we see somebody acting in a way that is betraying out there, that we somehow perhaps betray ourselves. And it's a way of looking at this reciprocal, circular way of being that forgiveness really speaks to. And so if we're forgiving out there, we're also forgiving in here simultaneously, and it works so well. So I also have another slogan that I love to use, and that is that this person or that person or this situation or that situation is giving me a forgiveness opportunity.
Nice way to look at it, and probably not the way we automatically look at it.
Right.
And that helps us accept our common humanity. And what I've found in doing this work is people consciously are much more willing to forgive somebody else for their flaws or limitations than they are to forgive themselves.
Absolutely.
And so to become conscious of that is a lot of what you're bringing to this.
Right, exactly. And this common humanity piece I have found to be so helpful with your self-compassion work, that I'm not alone, that everyone has this human condition which is so flawed, and also that that's not necessarily the true essence of me. That the true essence of me and you and all of us is that we are pure love and pure light and pure innocence, and that our natural state of being is joy and peace. And I believe that when we can come to self-compassion and by way of that forgiveness, that ultimately we can tap into the feeling of knowing our innocence and experiencing peace. That really is the hallmark of forgiveness, peace.
Lovely, and it really is about not resisting the fact that we're human. One of Kristen Neff's taglines that I try to remember when working with people is that self-kindness is about care, not cure. In other words, there's nothing wrong with us, which is, I think, what you're just saying.
Exactly.
And that a lot of us approach improvement by self-criticism. And self-criticism comes from the opposite place of what we're talking about, which is there's something wrong with me that I need to fix.
Exactly.
And what you're suggesting is, no, we basically, inside, are whole.
Exactly, we're whole, and what I believe needs to change is the way in which we're seeing or perceiving. So we see with our physical eyes and we see this flaw or that flaw or this problem or that problem. And if we were to instead put on our spiritual sight and see with our hearts into the hearts of someone else or a situation, we may perceive quite differently. We may learn to perceive innocence, not to skip over the feelings that may be involved. There may be sadness, there may be hurt, there may be anger, there may be frustration, there may be shame. And your self-compassion works really goes a long way to sitting with those feelings, being present to those feelings.
And caring for ourselves
Exactly.
when we're having those feelings instead of trying to push them away.
Yeah.
And that is the opportunity for change, when we can sit with our humanity and can sit with what we're experiencing and know that we are basically whole underneath it. And so it will move through us. But the consciousness, again, it comes back to practices that allow us to start to think differently, that allow us to open our hearts.
Right.
And so meditation is an important beginning part of this whole process.
Absolutely. And we share so many wonderful practices, as you say, and that's so much a part of our work, is introducing practices for people to carry with them in order to deal with difficult situations and difficult emotions. And I'm so grateful that we have our time together, and you feel like such a wonderful partner, and I'm so grateful that we have that experience together.
It's mutual. Thank you.
Blessings.